He was born in Washington, D.C. on February 15th, 1934. His father was a pediatrician and his mother was an attorney. When he was 15, he had not yet finished high school but was enrolled at the University of Chicago, where he studied for 3 years. Then he went on and spent 2 years at New York University and earned his bachelor's degree and did his first research project on how people responded to group therapy. He then went on to the graduate program where he studied clinical psychology. He studies emotion and facial expressions. So he has done many different studies on different things such as how our emotions are shown and if people are suppressing their emotions, how that can be detected, how you can tell if somebody's lying or not. There's so many different things that our faces show and our emotions, and he really goes into all of that. And if you're interested in learning more about this, there's some really interesting videos on YouTube, 2 of which are in my Works Cited page. Both of these videos are really interesting, and they're only about 5 minutes long, talking about different topics that he has studied, and he explains them in the videos. About his career, in 1958, he was a lieutenant chief psychologist in the Army for 2 years, and then he went on to do different studies. One of them was a grant that was given by the National Institute of Mental Health to study nonverbal behavior, and that was for 40 years. After he did that, he was a professor at the University of California. When he retired from that, he founded the Paul Ekman Group, which is something that he wanted to do to make his research and findings into information that was helpful to the public. He's also an author. He has written 16 books and published over 170 articles. He has also worked in the media, been on TV shows, helped with documentaries, movies, all related to his research. His work inspired the facial action coding system, which was actually the first tool that could measure facial movement. And his research, in the late 1800s, Charles Darwin had a theory that facial expressions are the same wherever you go. And no one had actually done the extensive research on facial expressions that Paul Ekman did. And it was kind of interesting that Charles Darwin had this theory, but it wasn't researched until much later on. 2 questions that I would have for him are: why did he decide to study psychology, and what would he see himself doing if he was not in psychology? He has done so many things for psychology and has been very influential in the field, and what would he see himself doing if all these things that he had done throughout his career he hadn't done? And this is my Works Cited page, and as you can see at the bottom here, these are 2 different YouTube videos that I watched that were really interesting about his research.